Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cesar G. Hernandez. I'm the program director for Mile One. I would like to welcome everyone today for the first installment of our Women Entrepreneurs Rock Hybrid Series 2021. First of all, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Luis Lascari, Marketing Coordinator, and Mr. Luis Tienda from 13th West Media, who's assisting us today in some technical support. I'd also like to thank the Laredo Economic Development Corporation and now retired and former President and CEO, Olivia Varela, for having the vision to create Mile One, and our current president, Mr. Gene Lindgren, president and CEO, for your unwavering support. We'd like to thank BBVA for supporting the WORS series over the last 3 years. Their support has allowed us to provide technical assistance not only to our members, but to the small business community as well. The WORS series is all about celebrating female entrepreneurship. It's a key part of the Mile One's commitment to fostering equal representation in the business sector and networking opportunities for entrepreneurs at all levels. Through leadership, we improve our community. Through empowerment, we push for change. And through innovation, we inspire our younger generations. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Mrs. Amber Avis Hinojosa. Amber is an ambitious 30-year-old female entrepreneur. She graduated from the University of Missouri in 2009 with a degree in political science. After working for her family CPA firm, she obtained an additional degree in accounting and a master's in certified financial planning. And if I understand it, so you're the only female financial planner in Laredo. In 2018, she started her first business, Ambitious Management, a boutique tax, insurance, and financial planning firm where she helps small businesses and startups maximize the tax code and build sustainable wealth for the future. She is a co-owner of 1802 Social House LLC, a historical home in downtown Laredo, and a partner in Ambitious Arrivals LLC and Movino Investment Groups LLC. Amber is a president of Webb County Democrats and currently serves as the treasurer of the Webb County Democratic Party, treasurer of the Logistics and Manufacturing Association, and vice chair of the Laredo Commission of Women. I would like to introduce Mrs. Amber Avis Hinojosa.
Thank you, Cesar, and thank you, Mile One and BBVA, for bringing us all together today to talk about budgeting and savings. I know it's not the sexiest topic, but it's so important when it comes to women and entrepreneurship, being female business owners in our community. It's a discussion that we need to have and feel freely to talk about. And so thank you for having me and kicking off this series. It's also Financial Literacy Awareness Month. And so I'm excited to talk to you more about budgeting and savings. But I'm ready for the PowerPoint. Yeah, ready? Go. So we're gonna talk a little bit about bringing sexy back to your budget and savings, cash flowing like a boss, and why savings is queen, and key strategies if you are either a small business, you're a startup, or you're thinking about starting a business and you want to get your financial house in order. This is a good starting place. And so again, my name is Amber Avis Hinojosa. I am the owner of Ambitious Management, where I meet with clients on a daily basis to kind of talk about tax and financial strategy and incorporate budget and savings into their financial game plan. Specifically in Laredo, if money is power, then why do only 1/4 of Americans have less than $1,000 saved? With 32% of that being women compared to 19% of men. In Laredo, Texas, the median household income is $47,478. That's combined. Individually, the average income in Laredo is $22,228. If you divide it by 12, it's a lot less than $2,000. And also in Texas, men make more than women. And so having female-owned businesses where we can get out of that hourly base wage and bring more to the table, increase our wages, and become the breadwinners in our household. It's up to us to be more educated on what's coming in and what's going out so that we can put more into savings and create more businesses and be able to pay our staff and afford our payroll costs. So right now there is a huge female financial movement going on on social media and Instagram, and the tables are turning. We're no longer, relying on men with white hair for financial advice. Everyday women like you and I are out there, and we're talking about money, and we're talking about strategy, and we're talking about being business owners. And so for me, my favorite quote is, nothing bad happens when women have more money. And how do we do that? We work hard, we save, we invest, we repeat, we become the breadwinners in our household. And we build the sustainable growth and strategy for our future, for our family. And we do that all by being female business owners. And so what I want to talk to you more about is, how do we do this as small business owners or somebody that's getting started? They don't know where to get started with budgeting. And so this is like a conversation or a date you need to set with yourself. For me, every first Sunday of the month, I know I'm going to dedicate 3 to 5 hours to sit down and work on my budget. And the first thing you want to do is you want to find out where all of your money goes. So I go through every single item and categorize what it belongs to. Is it dues and subscription? Is it office supplies? Is it payroll? And I know what's coming in and what's going out. And then you want to see where you can cut costs. Maybe you're overpaying in subscriptions and things that you don't use, or you had, you maybe had a double charge on something that you weren't aware of. But by reviewing this in your bank statement, you're going to find those areas where you can see like, hey, I spent way too much money on eating out. This is something I can cut back on, or this is something I'm going to implement in the next month to bring down my overall spending. Another thing you want to do is you want to set realistic goals. You might want to be very ambitious and want to eliminate all of your debt before you start this new business, but you want to give yourself enough time to tackle your debt, have a real strategy. Are you going to use the snowball method? Are you going to use the avalanche method? And you also want to automate as many expenses and savings as you can, because as business owners, we get so busy, and the last thing you want to do is be late on a payment. And you also just want to make sure that you're automating your savings so that you can make sure that you're paying yourself and you're maxing out all of your retirement accounts and your savings goals. You want to make sure you have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund before you jump into any business, because as we all know, when you're starting a business, you're going to be spending everything that you need to do to get your business operating. And so you want to make sure that you can cover your personal expenses first, 3 to 6 months, in case anything happens. Maybe you don't get to bill, or you're behind on receivables. You have enough cushion for an emergency. So if your car breaks down, your refrigerator goes out, you have enough in the bank to keep you afloat during those times. I also recommend templates and comparing them often. I will share them with Mile One if you registered, and I'll show them on the next slide. This is a template that I use, and like I said, I have my monthly money date with myself, and I review everything that I spent, and I kind of know what's going to be coming in, what's going to be going out. I personally have clients that I have on a fixed schedule, so I know every month that this is what's going to come in. And then I have variable work that can fluctuate per month. And so on the fluctual income, on the variable income, I always, estimate low, and most of the time it'll be more than that. For me, I also collect rent for one of my businesses, and that goes into my business account. So I make sure that I collect that and I reimburse it. And then I also just, like I said, on my fixed expenses, I try to automate as many things as I can. My investment accounts, my cell phone bill, my savings. I make all of those expenses on my fixed expenses. And then on the variable expenses side, I don't know if you guys can see, but I'll budget for gas, I'll budget for food. I also budget for self-care and going to the gym, and travel, utilities, office supplies, and miscellaneous. And so when you have these types of budgets, you have your budgeted and your actual, and you can see, where is your spending going? And I highly recommend doing this on a monthly basis. You can also check in with yourself weekly, bi-weekly, if you have the time to do it. A lot of people put off doing their budget because they just have so many things to do. But if you actually spend time working on your budget, you're going to save yourself money because you're going to see where all your money is going. When it comes down to savings, I also have the same creator that made my monthly budget, made my sinking fund worksheet. Her name is Babe on a Budget, and I found her on Instagram, and I got her little budgets for her little templates for $5 a piece. And I use them for me, and I use them for my clients, and I use them for multiple businesses, and it helps that they're pink because it puts me in a better mood when I'm working on my budget. And so, like I said, the number one thing you want to make sure you have before you jump into any business or partnership is an individual emergency fund where, you know, you set money aside and you're not going to touch that. For me, I have that invested in a high yield savings account. And we talked about this in the earlier presentation, that it's very hard to find a high yield savings account that pays a decent amount of return. I have found Citibank to be the best. They don't charge any fees and they give you 0.5% of interest. And so if you're going to open up an emergency fund that you don't want to touch, I would recommend putting it into a high yield savings account. And then for me and my goals, and this might be similar to your goals, I have like a real estate fund. So I know I'm going to want to be continuing to buy property. I already have 4 units, and so I'm looking to buy my next one, but I at least want to have some money in the bank so that I don't have to borrow the down payment, and I have a fund set aside for that. If you're also a small business and you want to upgrade your equipment, or you know you're going to have some type of expense coming up, a big purchase, and you want to save for that, you can also drop that amount, the goal amount, and put how much you've saved. And we also talked about this earlier, if you want to have like a travel account where you can, you know, that can be your company shareholder vacation. That's what I call mine. And you can save for that as well. And so when you have this type of sinking fund worksheet, the template has a calculation that'll tell you exactly how much you need to save a month. And so you want to structure that into your budget so that you're keeping yourself accountable. You have a visual of what you've got going and how much you need to save to hit your goal in that short amount of time. So back to the theme that money is power. The more you can save on your budget, the more money you can put into your savings, put into your investments, and pay yourself. Pay for your health care, pay for going to the gym, taking care of yourself, self-care, giving back, and really just putting your action into play. Setting a budget and savings really helps you practice your cash flow management. And one of the tools I said earlier is that I have a NAV account. And so NAV is kind of like the credit reporting for businesses. And so as long as you have an EIN and you have a DUNS number, you can go in and see what your business credit report is. And also you can set it up to monitor your cash flows, and it'll monitor them on a weekly basis. So they'll see what your bank has going in and coming out for that week. And that's also going to help determine if you get a loan, you know, the bank is going to look at your cash flow management. So all of this kind of helps you improve your loan approval process. The more you have in the bank, the less debt you have, the more likely a bank is going to give you a good interest rate and give you funding so that you can have more working capital and you can continue to grow your business. And you can build your personal and business credit by maintaining, you know, positive cash flow, your savings, your budgeting, all of that kind of ties into one. And so it's going to increase your valuation of your company and get you ready to go to the next thing, whether that's investing in maybe like real estate or more equipment. It's all gonna add up. So my key strategies for budgeting and saving is set a monthly or weekly money date. Like I said, mine is always the first Sunday of the month, so I can reflect on my last month's spending and then also plan for the next following month. You can do this monthly, weekly, or bi-weekly. Sometimes it's good to check in maybe halfway and see how you're doing so far, so you can kind of adjust. I also recommend printing your bank statement sometimes we leave the accounting to the accountants, and that's great and all, but if you don't know where your money is going, then how can you make better decisions about your company? So I recommend, like, don't just leave the accounting to your bookkeeper, print your bank statement and see where all your money is going, and make the time to work on your budget. I know we, as business owners, we get so busy and things, life gets so crazy, but for me, I spend 3 to 5 hours a month on just working on my numbers. And I tell myself, I can't take care of everyone until I take care of myself first. And so I make sure that my budget is my priority. Again, you want to also make sure that you set attainable goals. You want to give yourself enough time to pay off debt. You want to pay off high interest debt. You want to position yourself so that you can go to the bank or have a good credit score, have a good business credit score before you go and apply for anything. And just make sure that whatever goals you are, maybe you want to have a certain amount in the bank, or maybe you want to have a certain credit score, your goals are attainable within that period that you set. You also want to make sure that you're automating as much as you can. I know it's kind of scary when you're a business owner, because sometimes it's harder to get paid sometimes, but it's harder when you get so busy you forget to schedule a payment, and then you're stuck with a late fee or derogatory marking on your credit score. And so automate your savings, automate your bills, and let the computers do all the work. And lastly, I just wanted to say to partner up. I know that when I was starting my business, I went to a conference in San Antonio, and I was with other female business owners. And what I heard was, when we're first starting, that's when it's the hardest. Or when we go to the bank, women are less likely to ask for a big loan. They'll go and ask for the minimum. And so you need to have somebody that you can share, the struggles of being in a business, and the struggles to build up a certain amount in your savings, or somebody to have you accountable. Maybe that's your partner or a friend or a family member that you can feel confident talking to about money and savings and budgeting, and you can kind of vent about the challenges that you're facing. So that was my last little tip. For me, I have a hard time sitting down with my husband because I can't get him to sit down and really take accountability. But with my clients, I have certain ones that will come in on a monthly basis, and we'll review what big bills need to be paid, what's going to be coming in and out, so that he can better position himself for all the things that he wants to do in that next month. And now we have some time for some Q&A. I left my Facebook, my email, and my phone number. If anybody needs to reach me or they want to do a discovery call or consultation, I'm always available, and I'm a few blocks away.
Amber, thank you very much for that information. Very helpful information, both in the personal world or in your personal life and in your business world. If you want to sustain, grow, and develop your business, you have to have good credit. You have to maintain your cash flow to make sure that if you need capital and you go out and seek that assistance, you'll be able to get it right away. And so I have a couple of questions for you. And anyone watching live on Facebook would like to ask a question, please put it on the chat. You can tag Ambitious Management or Mile One. And if we don't get to answer it today, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So if you have any questions, or if you have any thoughts, please go ahead and put them down on the chat, and you can tag Ambitious Management or Mile One. And if we can't get to answer it today, we'll get back to you. But I have a couple of questions for you, Amber. How important is a credit score when you're looking for capital to infuse into your business?
So it's very important. The first 2 years that you're in business and you're trying to get capital, you can't go to a normal bank because you don't have 2 years of tax returns. And so for that, if you wanted to get like a startup loan, you would have to depend on your personal credit. and you would have to be over a 600, for anyone to approve you. And so if you're in those startup years, People Fund is a great place to start. They're a community lender through SBA, and all you need is a business plan and some projections, and they kind of help you get started. Your first 3 payments are interest only. And so it helps you, in those first steps. Because if you do want to get like a bigger loan or go to your big bank, it's going to take 2 years for you to get tax returns. And then you're also going to depend on your personal credit a lot in the first 2 years.
So I asked this question earlier. I have a couple of credit cards, and you made a comment of like, the types of kind of focus you want to come, snowball effect, or what was the other one you mentioned?
The avalanche.
The avalanche effect. And so I'm that way. I try to keep my credit to a minimum. I try not to charge as much as I can, or I have to, or when needed, etc. And I have a small credit card that I pay off fairly often. I charge it up and then I pay it off and so forth. But what if I charge or finish paying off a credit card and then I don't use it for a while, and the company or the business or whatever shuts my credit account? Will that affect my credit score?
Absolutely, it will, because when they shut off your account or close your account, it basically closes off your available credit, your credit available. And so having that card open and using it just once in a while, paying it off, will help build better credit. Even if you don't use it that much, it just shows that you have it available, you can pay on time, and closing it will, probably take you off a few points if they just decide to close it. But normally they'll send you a letter and they'll say, we're either going to reduce the amount of credit available, or we're going to close it. And that'll give you time to respond, maybe go make a transaction, and then from there, continue building.
So I have a question that I was thinking about earlier. So most retailers nowadays offer their own credit. For example, you want to go buy a bed, I'm dying to get this bed, but it costs me $5,000. And so the retailer will give you their own credit. You have a good credit score, you get 0% interest rate over a 5-year period to pay it off. But now what? I paid it off and now I have credit for that retailer, and that's the only way I can use it. Do you recommend doing that?
I personally do not recommend those type of credit cards that, they're just for that one specific purpose, because, like you said, what are you going to do after you pay it, right? And now you've opened up this credit account and it doesn't give you points, it doesn't give you travel. Like, there's really no purpose of having it other than you needed to finance that bed. So what I would do is, if you were a business, or I mean, you can do it for individual as well, I would do a credit card that has no interest the same way, but maybe gives you points that you might use in another way. Like, I know I have an Amazon card and I usually put my beds on that card so that I can get points back and I can buy other stuff. And so if it's gonna, like, I remember back in the day when I was in college, we would get credit cards for Victoria's Secret and Express. And now looking back, it was like, why were we financing bathing suits? You know what I mean? Why would I be financing like a bed, 10 years later or whatever? You don't want to get into that hole, right? And so get a credit card that gets you points and travel. I mean, that's a big thing where you can charge your business trips on, and yeah, get a credit card that's going to have like multiple benefits, not just the 0% interest.
So yeah, I remember back when I was in college and I would go for spring break, and they would tell you, sign up for this and get a free t-shirt. And 3 weeks later, I got 3 or 4 credit cards. And so you're young, you're not thinking, what am I going to do this? You run up your credit, kind of tarnish your credit score. And so it takes some time to get back into it, right? But now thinking as an adult, or as a mature adult, you start thinking about retirement. And you start thinking about, when is the best time to start a retirement plan? And can you give us some examples of some that might be beneficial at a young age, middle age, and an older age?
Yeah, so that is a great question. The time is always now. The longer you wait, the more you're going to end up having to pay out, right, to get to whatever goal you want to get. So if you can start when you're in your early 20s, and, make smaller payments, then you're going to have a longer period of horizon where you're compounding interest. If we start later, then we have to put more in to reach that goal, which really will strap us for cash depending on our budget again. And so if you're just starting out, I recommend starting with a Roth IRA account. You can have it robo advised, you can manage it yourself. What I do is the contribution limits for every year is $6,000. And so I have an account with Avis where they just automatically take out of my account and they invest it for me. I don't have to worry about anything. And I have a percentage of that $6,000 that goes into there every year. But then on the other side, I have a TD Ameritrade account where if I see a company or brand that I like is about to go public, or I want to buy their stock because I heard that it was going to do really well, it was going to rally, I'll adjust my budget and I'll put some money in there. Like recently I bought the Coinbase, the Coinbase app, the day that they went public, and I wasn't really planning for that, but I had it in my budget where I could take that jump, and I can take the tax advantage. My contributions are tax deductible. And so that was a contribution for 2020 because we have until May 17th to make contributions for 2020. So that's where that went. I also recommend, if you are a business owner or a partner in a business, consider getting Index Universal Life Insurance, just because one, you're not just getting it for insurance, you're getting it for liability in the event that you pass away one day, and you can also use it to structure a tax-free retirement. And so it is front load heavy. The fees are pretty high, but you can use it as a retirement tool, and the interest rates start at 6%. So as long as you're healthy and you don't have any major medical complications, you can get over a 6% on a life insurance policy and use that as a tool for your retirement.
Thank you. I know that a lot of our viewers are not entrepreneurs. They work for a company, an organization of some sort, or a state or local, entity. Would you recommend, if they offer a 401k and they offer a match, would you recommend maxing out that match?
Absolutely. So your maximum contribution on a 401k every year, I want to say it's 19,000 or 18,500. It's right up there. Most people don't max out every year. And if you're working for somebody and they're gonna match, you should be maxing it out every year. If not, it's taxable. So that's your way to kind of bring down your tax liability, max out, take advantage while the company is doing well for them to max their contributions and build up that retirement account, because one day you might not be there forever and you want to walk away, and you can take it out early. I mean, I don't usually recommend that, but you can take it out early and maybe invest in something else. A lot of people do that, invest it into real estate or roll it over into another tax sheltered product.
I don't know if we have any questions coming in from Facebook Live. If not, we can go ahead and ask one more question. What tips would you give a young investor to try to start building wealth now?
Number one, always start with your emergency fund. And then it is really advantageous right now with the way the tax code is buying real estate. Also getting into crypto if you can early. We've seen some amazing gains lately. And also just get in the habit of allocating part of your budget to savings, whether it goes into a real estate fund or it goes into your retirement accounts. Just get in the habit of investing early, putting money aside. Even if you just start with $100 a month, if you can start at 20 years old, then you're going to be ahead of a lot of older people your age. And so the earlier you start, the better your accounts are going to look one day, and you won't have to work so hard. You get to retire way earlier. So I meet with a lot of people that want to retire at 45. That's always the target for entrepreneurs. And so we have to do a lot of strategy. We have to put a lot into savings. We have to supplement it with IULs. We have to look at projections on real estate. What's the income going to be on that once the property is paid off? And so what we'll do is we'll run a structured income plan basically that kind of structures where all these buckets of money are going to be generating interest over time, and then kind of backwards working what you're spending now so that you can afford it later.
Thank you so much, Amber. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming back. We had a few technical difficulties this morning, but we were able to launch this afternoon and really get some very practical information for our viewers. And it's really very important to start thinking about your finances if you want to start a business. If you want to become an entrepreneur and self-employed, you definitely want to get your finances in order so that when you go to a financial institution for a loan, you'll be able to maximize your request. I want to thank you once again, Amber, for presenting today and for joining us for our first installment of the Women Entrepreneurs Rock Hybrid Series 2021. I also want to remind anybody that if you want to start a business, Mile One is here to help. You can visit our webpage at mile1inc.com. Come by here at 1312 Houston Street or call us at 413-8855.